Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Copperud, and I am a Program Director for the International Space Station National Laboratory. It is my pleasure to be presenting this webinar covering a new ISS National Lab research announcement. As we get started with this presentation, I just want to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded and will be published on our website. If you have any questions, please enter them in the questions dialog box. We will have some time at the end of this webinar to address some of the questions. If we do not get to your question today, we will post a full list of questions and answers when we put the video on our website. So with that, let's get started. This is ISS National Lab Research Announcement 2023-2. This NLRA focuses specifically in the areas of tissue engineering and biomanufacturing. As I mentioned in my introduction, I work for the ISS National Lab, which is managed by the Center for the Advancement of Science in Space, or CASIS, in partnership with NASA. At the ISS National Lab, we have access to 50% of the resources available to the U.S. on the ISS. This includes astronaut time, facilities use, allocation in launch, as well as return vehicles. We utilize this resource to drive scientific breakthroughs, advance commercial space opportunities, and inspire the next generation. While NASA focuses on utilizing the ISS in part to test technologies that will reduce risks for space exploration, our focus for the National Lab is on returning tangible benefits to those of us here on Earth. So please keep that key point in mind when responding to this solicitation. The primary reason to do work in space are to take advantage of these key attributes: extreme environment, vantage point, and sustained microgravity. Researchers can utilize the outside of the platform to expose materials to the vacuum of space, extreme temperature variations, radiation, and microparticle impacts. As the space station orbits the Earth, it provides a vantage point to view 90% of the world's populated areas and is a human-tended satellite, thus enabling the crew to modify when and where they record images in real time. However, the most relevant attribute for this announcement is the ability to provide access to sustained microgravity, which alters many observable phenomena within the physical and life sciences. Moreover, microgravity induces a vast array of changes in organisms ranging from viruses and bacteria to humans, including global alterations in gene expression and three-dimensional aggregation of cells into tissue-like architecture. Hopefully I've got you thinking about all the types of experiments made possible by the ISS National Lab. I just wanted to take a moment to highlight several opportunities available through upcoming solicitations. You may find a schedule of current and past solicitations by visiting the Opportunities tab on our website. Though I will be talking about the in-space production applications NLRA focused on tissue engineering and biomanufacturing today, very soon we will be announcing an NLRA focused on STEM education. After the new year, we will have an in-space production applications NLRA focused on advanced materials, as well as another cycle of our technology development NLRA. And in the summer of 2023, we will be announcing a technology and space prize competition with Mass Challenge. While many technology development projects in the ISS National Lab portfolio come in through an ISS National Lab research announcement, such as the ones I just described, there are other pathways for different sized companies to gain access to low Earth orbit for technology demonstration. For example, if you are at the fundamental science or low technology readiness level end of the technology development spectrum, there are opportunities through joint solicitations with the ISS National Lab and other government organizations, such as the U.S. National Science Foundation. Mass Challenge is another entry point for demonstration of emerging technologies. If your technology is early to mid-level technology readiness level, we have examples from our technology development and LRAs in the past to help advance your TRL. As your technology matures, it may then be ready for in-space production applications. To accommodate you when you're ready, we have annual releases of these in-space production application solicitations. Lastly, ISS National Lab commercial service providers can at any time submit a resource request form to CASIS proposing use of their platform for business purposes. So that brings us to the specifics of this research announcement. As I noted earlier, the focus of this solicitation is in-space production applications, specifically in the areas of tissue engineering and biomanufacturing. I will spend some time providing background on what these terms mean in the context of this solicitation. I also encourage you to read the full research announcement and reach out to us if you have any questions about whether your concept is in scope for the solicitation. The first thing to note about in-space production applications is that this is not an opportunity focused on fundamental research questions. We have other opportunities to support those research areas. As I mentioned earlier, part of our role at the ISS National Lab is to contribute to the commercial space economy, utilizing the ISS as a test bed for commercial opportunities. This research announcement is really focused on that aspect. Your proposal must discuss how the project could grow new business and capital investment and ultimately return long-term value for continued access to the space environment. It should also specify how you would utilize the ISS through this opportunity to mature your process and/or validate your production capabilities. The proposal must focus on how the LEO environment uniquely enables the specific project proposed. So you must address why you cannot do the project here on Earth. The ultimate goal for this program is to mature and validate projects so that they will be ready for scale-up as we see more and more commercial space platforms become available. The terms tissue engineering and biomanufacturing describe fields that utilize biological materials engineered to be used for clinical applications themselves or as a tool for the discovery of novel therapeutics. Projects in this arena could range from using single-cell populations to multicellular applications, and in fact, could include non-cellular biological products. Again, if you have questions as to whether your concept is appropriate for this solicitation, please reach out. Likewise, as a reminder, if you have any questions throughout this webinar, please post them in the questions dialog box. With that brief introduction, let me give you an overview of why we are interested in supporting this opportunity. As many of you know, we have seen an amazing technological advancement in recent years in the areas of biological research, from the use of induced pluripotent stem cells to gene editing capabilities. We have also seen a tremendous increase in the integration of engineering and miniaturization of research platforms, as well as massive leaps forward in analytical capabilities. I think everyone is convinced that tissue engineering will provide substantial beneficial impacts to the health and well-being of our nation. However, in the field we are still confronted by a number of challenges, and while we see hope in the number of ongoing clinical trials, we have yet to see the full expanse of significant impacts. While there are a number of contributing factors, we are hopeful that the use of the ISS can help expedite some of these future benefits. Again, while we all agree the tools and technologies available to us today are significantly advanced from those of just a decade or two ago, the time and cost for novel therapeutic development continues to increase on average. So the question is, can a LEO-based platform be utilized to open up new opportunities not available terrestrially, and will these confer a commercially sustainable advantage? As an example, stem cells and stem cell-derived products hold potential as both research tools and as therapeutic products. One of the earliest initiatives that we undertook at the ISS National Lab was to support stem cell research on the ISS. Working on some preliminary evidence that spaceflight has an effect on stem cells, we asked the research community Is there an advantage to culturing and expanding stem cells in space? Alternatively, what knowledge could be applied to terrestrial applications from doing research in space? This type of work was fully supported by CASIS in hopes that it would help develop more advanced cell culture techniques, reveal scientific breakthroughs, and lead to more initiatives. In fact, such research has led to the validation of several key findings, such as the discovery that clinically relevant stem cells can be expanded on the ISS, and that expansion in low Earth orbit appears to confer some improvements in stem cell capabilities over expansion on Earth. In addition, cell culturing and microgravity can reveal novel targets for optimizing cellular products in transplantation applications. Further, real-time imaging and live return of cell cultures from space are possible, and we are witnessing huge increases in low Earth orbit cell culture capabilities from our community of implementation partners. For this current announcement, you could potentially use a LEO-based platform to highlight ways to gain insights into controlling and optimizing stem cell pluripotency and multipotency, proliferation and expansion, differentiation, and/or the maturation of stem cells and stem cell derivatives. Another application could be investigating how this research could lead to commercial investment. There is an intense interest in aging research aiming to prolong our healthy and productive years. Novel approaches to enhancing quality of life include targeting cellular senescence, genomic instability, and telomere shortening. It is known that spaceflight induces a number of physiological changes in both astronauts and rodent models. These include skeletal muscle atrophy, bone density loss, immune dysfunction, cardiovascular deconditioning, and arterial stiffening. These changes resemble aging-related maladies on Earth and are well documented, even in extremely healthy astronauts. These findings provide a compelling case for studying astronaut health by researchers seeking to understand disease processes, especially because these changes in spaceflight occur very fast and are reversible upon return to Earth. The effects from spaceflight also present an opportunity to utilize multicellular devices such as tissue chips to model these rapid onset disease phenotypes. Some initial work in collaboration with NIH, specifically the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, or NCATS, has enabled significant advancements in the hardware capabilities for using microphysiological systems on the ISS. These capabilities have been developed in partnership with the implementation partner community and range from partial to full automation. Scientifically, some key initial findings include identification of a novel link between the immune system and stem cell senescence, spaceflight cardiac dysregulation in 3D models as demonstrated by 2 different PI teams, and new omics level details on the contribution of disuse to post-traumatic osteoarthritis. These studies and others supported by NCATS and NSF are still ongoing, so we still have much to learn. Those interested in conducting such research could use the opportunity provided through this research announcement to identify ways that tissue chip platforms or other biologically engineered systems could be utilized in low Earth orbit to drive sustained revenue. This could be achieved perhaps by developing platforms for novel target identification, validation studies, or preclinical safety and efficacy. Similarly, the ISS National Lab has supported several organoid payloads. These self-organized 3D tissue cultures could also be integrated into tissue chip platforms. Additionally, organoids can be cultured independent of the engineered platforms, potentially enabling higher throughput screening capabilities. Organoids can even be returned to Earth after being cultured in low Earth orbit for terrestrial use or to be distributed as commercial products. Another aspect of this research announcement Biofabrication covers a wide range of opportunities such as fabricating tissues for disease modeling, testing of biofabricated materials, and improving fabrication processes for biomaterials. There exists an urgent need for tissues, organs, and other biomaterials for use in transplantations and regenerative applications on Earth. In the past decades, many novel tools have emerged to enable the assembly of these complex structures. All of these terrestrial-based tools and techniques attempt to circumvent the effects of gravity in their processes. Given that there is still a need for additional biofabrication techniques, there are potential advantages to biofabrication and microgravity, including the ability to use less viscous bioinks, to enhance cell-to-cell interaction as for organoid production, to control mechanotransduction effects due to gravity during the maturation and curing process, and the ability to print simultaneously from any spatial orientation. There are current and planned commercially operated biofabrication systems on the ISS, including the TechShot biofabrication facility shown here. And I just want to remind you that concepts looking to build commercial opportunities in this area are within scope of this research announcement. Now that I've introduced some focus areas of this solicitation, I'd like to discuss some of the specifics. One thing to note is that this solicitation is really focused on commercial opportunities within the fields of tissue engineering and biomanufacturing. We will be looking to support projects that identify some of the key points listed here. The direct link to the solicitation is also listed here. Next, I will go over some of the details regarding the application process, as well as the timeline and contacts. All of these details can also be found at this website. You may also access this recording and answers to frequently asked questions. In the solicitation documents, you will see that we have identified some priority areas, which are also listed here. These are the same areas that I briefly covered earlier. We are open to other areas outside those identified, and if you have questions regarding your specific concept, please feel free to reach out to us directly to discuss them. Focus areas such as novel drug formulations or development of polymorphs or other crystalline technologies, including those involving proteins, will likely be more appropriate for a future NLRA focused on advanced materials, scheduled to open early in the calendar year 2023. Again, if you have questions, please reach out to us. This research announcement opened on October 3rd and follows a two-step proposal process. Step 1 is the concept summary, which is a 2 to 3 page summary of your proposal. Concept summaries must be received no later than November 29, 2022. Note that this is the Tuesday after a holiday weekend, so please plan accordingly. We will not accept late entries. Concept summaries will be evaluated internally for operational feasibility and scientific merit. We will then invite those summaries that pass this initial review to submit a full proposal in Step 2. Full proposals submitted in Step 2 are by invitation only and will be due by February 28, 2023. CASES funding is to be allocated to support project development costs and mission integration and operation costs. Funding is limited for the ISS National Lab in space production applications, tissue engineering and biomanufacturing research announcement. As such, the level of funding requested will be a factor in the final selection. As noted, the first step is the concept summary, which is 2 to 3 pages in length. There is a template provided, so please use this template. We would like for you to include certain details in your summary, such as your hypothesis, the metrics you will use to measure success, why the ISS is necessary, and how your experiment will work operationally. As noted previously, if you have any questions on these items, please reach out to us. I will serve as the lead contact for this NLRA, and you can use the emails listed here for any specific questions related to your project concept. For the operational approach, I have mentioned the implementation partner community throughout this webinar. These are the organizations that have developed hardware to support research in this area and have the expertise to implement your ISS experiments. On the solicitation, we provide a list of available hardware and implementation partners. If you would like for us to help introduce you to these companies, please reach out to us at ops@issnationallab.org. We would like for you to have identified an implementation partner to work with and have started a dialogue with them about your project. Another aspect of the Step 1 submission is that you complete a compliance form. We are requesting that the PI and named co-PIs must be U.S. persons and that your institute or company be a U.S. company. In the solicitation documents, you will find a rubric outlining how the proposals will be evaluated. This is the rubric that we ask our external reviewers to use when evaluating proposals, so please review it and address the criteria in your summary. At the high level, they will be evaluated based on operational feasibility, scientific merit, and benefit to life here on Earth. Please reach out to our operations team with any questions about available hardware or working with the implementation partners. As I noted earlier, this is a reissue of an NLRA from the last 2 years. I would like to provide some feedback from past reviews. I'm going to highlight 2 sections from the solicitation where we have added some additional language to help guide the proposer. In section 233, we have added the following. Offerers are strongly encouraged to discuss any aspects of the experiment with their implementation partner that they deem significant beyond the standard description of the experiment. Consider the resources and support requirements for proper execution, the time required to operate the equipment, and the overall duration of the experiment in space in order to meet each of the defined science requirements. Provide details unique to your experimental design that someone unfamiliar with your science or your experimental design will need to know to be able to operate or troubleshoot it should you not be immediately available to help. Failure to adequately address the operations and utilization response elements in the solicitation may result in a non-selectable proposal. In section 234, we have added the following. In addition to describing the market and the potential for your product, service, or product improvement, also identify the customer in general, or even better, specific customers. Describe how your product will get to your customer and how it will impact them. Describe why the customer needs the product or service and how they will use the product or service. Elaborate on any follow-on testing and product development plan beyond the initial study. Provide estimates on resource requirements and possible funding sources and strategies to conduct the follow-on testing to reach product commercialization. If required resources and/or funding for follow-on endeavors have been committed, identify specific organizations committing them. If commercialization of the project is subject to regulatory approvals, provide the current state of the regulatory dialogue and expected time to gaining such approvals. Finally, I'd like to again encourage proposers to follow the outline provided in the proposal instructions. In-space production applications proposals are evaluated based on 4 major factors: scientific and technical merit, business and economic impact, implementation feasibility, and operations and ISS utilization. Each of these evaluation categories is comprised of multiple evaluation criteria, either 6 or 7 criteria per category, all of which are numerically weighted and scored. Results from the categorical evaluations are integrated into an overall score and rating for each proposal. The proposed project cost is not scored in the proposal evaluation, but is considered in final selection. The relative order of importance of the 4 evaluation factors is determined by the CASIS line of business corresponding to the NLRA, which in this case is the In-Space Production Applications line of business. The category weighted is roughly equal between science and technical merit, shown in purple in the figure, operations, shown in orange, and business and economic benefit, shown in green. Details on the evaluation methodology can be found in the proposal evaluator instructions for this NLRA, which is one of the documents contained in the zipped file available for download from the solicitation webpage. As far as funding, we are anticipating providing approximately $1 million in funding for this solicitation, with the expectation of making 3 to 5 awards. CASIS funding is to be allocated to support project development costs, or PI costs, and mission and integration and operation costs, or implementation partner costs. Funding is limited for this research announcement. As such, the level of funding requested will be a factor in the final selection. From a contractual standpoint, it is anticipated that CASIS will execute a grant agreement with the PI's institution, as well as a subcontract directly to the implementation partner. The awarded PI's institution will not need to execute a contract with the implementation partner. As you prepare your proposal for submission to this ISS National Lab research announcement, we recommend you keep in mind a few tips that we hope you find beneficial. Use available resources. There are many ISS National Lab resources available online. New for this year's NLRA is a slide presentation from NASA's Lynn Harper on ISS National Lab Lessons Learned, the link for which is provided here. ISS National Lab personnel are also available to answer questions in advance of your proposal submission. Connect with an implementation partner. Offerers with flight projects must identify and select an implementation partner, and the earlier in the proposal lifecycle, the better. We can help you in the implementation partner identification process. It is critical that you obtain a statement of work and budget from your selected implementation partner, and that both be included in the appendix of your proposal package. You are strongly encouraged to discuss those aspects of your experiment with your implementation partner that you deem significant beyond the standard description of your experiment. Consider the resources and support requirements for proper execution, the time required to operate the experiment, and the overall duration of the experiment in space in order to meet each of your defined science requirements. It is highly recommended that you provide your implementation partner a copy of the proposal evaluation criteria, and you will want to ensure that their statement of work addresses the operations criteria. Failure to adequately address the operations and utilization response elements in the solicitation may result in a non-selectable proposal. This brings up the third point, which is write to the evaluation criteria. The proposal instructions outline the evaluation criteria that will be used to evaluate your proposal. These criteria, or response elements, are alphanumerically labeled as A1, A2, etc. through D6. Our reviewers are asked to score your proposal on each of these specific points, so your proposal should address all of the proposal evaluation criteria. On average, past proposals that use the outline and address the specific questions in each point have scored higher overall. At a minimum, it makes the reviewer's job much easier. Proposals that do not address all of the criteria or address them poorly are very likely to receive low evaluation ratings. And finally, submit a compliant proposal. Ensure that your submitted proposal is compliant and within scope. Make sure the requisite forms and appendices are included in your proposal submission. Once again, I would like to encourage you to contact us if you have any questions. I thank you for your time and wish you the best of luck on your submission. We are very excited about this opportunity and the future of in-space production applications.